Hi, today I'm going to show you guys how I made this LED strip upgrade onto my Anet A8 printer. I used a 5-volt LED strip compared to the usual 12-volt strips. I also added a switch onto this upgrade. It didn't make sense having the printer and the lights turned on 24/7. I also used a 5-volt charger that I took from an old D-Link router as my power supply. And as you guys can see, it's a bit purplish, but it's actually meant to resemble UV light. Um, the strips are leftover strips from another project that I'm doing, and this upgrade is really it's not meant to light up the prints or the printer itself, but it's there to decorate the printer. So stick around and I'll show you how I did it. So you're gonna need a few things when doing this upgrade. One is obviously your LED strip. I got mine off of Amazon by iCreating. Again, it's a 5-volt DC. It's also waterproof. Um, it's about 2 meters. Now, if you do decide to get this product, it's gonna have a very strong smell at the beginning. It's really weird. I guess it's from China, and that's why. I'm not sure, but um, it's a pretty good product. But anyways, you're also gonna need a switch. For your switches, you can get them at any local hardware store. You can get them at Home Depot, Advanced Auto Parts, Walmart, maybe Amazon. But if you have a 12-volt LED and you have a 12-volt power supply, you should pick out a 12 amp switch. And you want to make sure that your switch is compatible with your LEDs and your power supply. Now, the switch I used was the one that came with this product. It was on the battery pack, as you can see. It's right there on the top right. I desoldered the terminals, the battery terminals of the from the switch, and I desoldered the wire that connected the switch and the LED. Um, I decided to change the wire that's connecting the switch and LEDs because the wires that came with it was pretty brittle. It was really thin and it wasn't really flexible enough. So I got myself a 16 gauge silicone wire from Amazon. It's more flexible. It's much thicker and it's temperature resistant. And you want something like this if you're running a load for a long time. Um, so that is that. You're gonna need a power supply. Now, if you decide to connect your LED strips to your power supply unit of your printer, um, if you have a 12-volt LED, this should be no problem. You can just this doesn't even apply to you. You can just I guess follow this diagram. If you have a 12-volt LED strip and a 12-volt charger, but if you have a 12-volt PSU and a 5-volt LED, you want to follow this diagram. You would need a step-down converter. I'll link a few on the description below. And you're just going to add your switch, but ultimately this is the diagram. This is the diagram that you will be using. If you're going to use if you're going to use a 5-volt charger, you can also use this diagram. If you're going to use a 5-volt charger for a 5-volt strip like I have, you're just going to follow this diagram. So you're just going to have to connect your positive wires of your power supply to the middle prong. Now, the switch that came with the LED, it was a 3-pronged switch. Now, 2-pronged switch are much easier, but if you have a 3-pronged switch, you're going to wire it like this. Just connect it straight through. The positive wire connecting your LEDs and your switch can be connected to either side of your 3-pronged switch. It doesn't really matter. It would still work. And your negative wire from your charger to your LED should be wired like this. Now the power supply, the charger that I used was from a D-Link router that was lying around. I decided to just cut off the ends of the wires. I had a hard time figuring out which was positive or negative, so I used a multimeter to figure out which was positive or negative, and that's pretty much easy. So you want to make sure that you are connecting the positive to the positive terminal, negative to the negative terminal. Polarities does matter here. You're also going to need a few things: your soldering kit, soldering wires, irons, scissors, cutters. If you're going to decide to get the LEDs that I got, the LEDs won't have the traditional cutting marks. You'll have these three different bronze areas. You can solder and cut your LEDs at these three different areas. It doesn't really matter. It still works. At the end, you can just add your wires, solder them. That's it. And that's about it. So I'm gonna show you guys how I did my upgrade.
You should play it safer. You got me all dressed up tonight. It's making a stain on the radio. You got me all freaked out tonight. Something you're telling me, but I don't know.